Do you yearn for travel that involves outdoor adventure and learning? I do. I also have a passion for all things farming and agriculture. I've traveled to exotic jungles to learn about growing chocolate. I even once owned my own organic vegetable and sunflower farm. And now I'm planning my journey back to agriculture. Agritourism, defined as travel that involves some type of agricultural experience. Agritourism is all about entertaining, but the marketing strategist in me knows that at its core, agritourism is really about educating, and education affects change. My future farm needs to deliver a profound experience to all of its visitors. It needs to educate people about food, health, and climate. Join me to learn from experienced agritourism farmers and entrepreneurs and help me build my future farm strategy. And who knows, maybe one day soon you'll find yourself in a tropical jungle cutting open cacao pods with a machete, or savoring an outdoor plant-to-plate community dinner with 100 guests at a farm in Illinois. So let's tap into the agritourist in you. This is your agritourist host, Jen Ross. Laurelee Blanchard, founder and president of Leilani Farm Sanctuary and author of Finding Paradise, left a lucrative career at a commercial real estate firm to devote her life to animal protection and humane education. In 1999, she cashed out her life savings and moved from Orange County, California, to Hawaii, to the island of Maui. Laurelee acquired an 8-acre parcel of land on which she created a farm sanctuary, a refuge where animals would be protected from neglect, abuse, and slaughter. Leilani Farm Sanctuary is a nonprofit organization, home to nearly 300 rescued animals. They include goats, chickens, rabbits, ducks, a donkey, geese, deer, cats, pigs, sheep, turkeys, guinea pigs, and tortoises. The sanctuary provides educational programs for school groups and special needs visitors and offers tours and humane education for the general public. They now host weddings at this majestic sanctuary in Maui. What better way to start a life with someone special by giving back and supporting animals from neglect, abuse, and slaughter? I want to add that I read Laurelee's book, Finding Paradise, after I did this interview. Laurelee overcame so many intense personal and financial struggles to maintain and keep her animals at the sanctuary. She gave everything of herself to stay aligned with her mission and to help these animals thrive. During our conversation, many of these struggles were not evident in the way that her book discusses them, so I highly recommend you read her book. I am humbled by Laurelee and all that she stands for. She is humanely human.
Good morning.
Good afternoon for me.
Yeah, that's right. You're quite a bit later.
Yeah. How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Well, thank you for joining me. I actually found you through John and Emma from Peacefield Farm Sanctuary in Florida. I think I was Googling and I found them. And I loved speaking with them, just so much passion. And they did so much due diligence before they made their switch. And they visited with you, actually. And he had the video. And I'm like, that's a place I want to check out.
I listened to that podcast you did with John and Emma. It was wonderful. I loved it.
They are just wonderful people. Not just for what they're doing, but just their passion and love for each other and how they're working together and pursuing what they're pursuing. So I kind of fell in love with them. So and I definitely want to visit. So you're in Maui,
Yes.
8 acres, 300 animals, give or take. I'm sure that probably changes.
Yes.
Before we talk about everything you're doing, and I usually like to read people's book. I didn't know you had a book, Finding Paradise. So I'm going to be reading it post this. So we'll talk about it. But when you were a kid, let me start there. When you were a kid, what was your relationship with animals? Was there some special connection? Because I know a lot of people who do this have had an experience or a special connection that started really early on. So tell me about that.
Well, my first animal was a cat. I was 5 years old and I loved the cat. And throughout my childhood, I had cats, and I had a issue with my father being mean to the cats. So that caused me to feel very protective of animals. And he was cruel to animals, not
Oh,
just our cats, but in general. So I think that's why I grew up to be a defender of animals. So I had cats my entire life, but it wasn't until I moved to Maui at the age of 37 that I became acquainted with other species of animals. So now I've got not only cats, but tortoises, a donkey, pigs, deer, chickens, a swan, goats, sheep, guinea pigs.
that's pretty diverse. That's awesome. So let's
Yes,
bring me back. So you were working in real estate, correct?
I
Or
was a
for,
commercial real estate broker. It was commercial real estate with a specialty in high-rise office buildings.
wow, in California, correct?
Yes, the airport
Okay.
area of Newport Beach, Irvine.
Okay.
Couldn't be more different than what I'm doing now.
And when you were living in California, did you have pets? Were you,
Yes, in California, my then husband and I had a couple of cats, and during the evenings, we'd take walks around the Dana Point Harbor where we would encounter cats who had been dumped. So we started rescuing cats, and my cat rescue work led me to Orange County People for Animals, where I learned about factory farming, and I became inspired to go vegan when I learned about the horrendous treatment of animals on factory farms.
and talk to me about the transition. So how do we go from working in commercial real estate, a pretty senior position? Obviously, you have a passion for rescue. It was, and advocating for these animals. And then we move, we move to Hawaii. Like, how did that happen? What was your mindset at the time? Because it's
Well,
such a big change.
I visited a farm sanctuary in Northern California. Farm Sanctuary was the name of it. And I felt really inspired not to necessarily start an official sanctuary, but to live on a farm where I could have space around me and rescue other species of animals. My thought was that I would do it on my own. So we started looking for farms in Central and Northern California, and we weren't able to find anything. And it occurred to us that Maui, where we had gone on our honeymoon, was a possibility because they had just dropped their quarantine requirement for cats or shortened it. It used to be that years ago, if you moved with your cats or dogs, they'd have to be in many, many months of quarantine. So when that was dropped, we decided to check into it, and this property was available. It was fewer acres than what we had in mind, but we saw it as a stepping stone. We thought, well, we'll start here and move to a bigger property. But as it turns out, this is plenty big, plenty to maintain, and we can definitely do our outreach with just 8 acres.
What made you choose Maui?
Well, we had honeymooned here 10 years, 10 years earlier. We didn't really know the island. It was just an idea that occurred to my husband. And when we came here on our honeymoon, we went for the big bicycle ride down Mountain.
I've
And
been,
have you? So
yes.
you remember you go through upcountry, which is very rural and picturesque. So that was what we were remembering.
Wow.
And it all worked out.
So when you first went there to check out the property, what were your feelings? Like, what were you thinking when you actually saw the property? Was it like, this is it?
There was a fruit orchard on the farm, and there was a old-fashioned 1921 plantation house. And we love old architecture. So yes, we were really, really in love with this place. And we
Excellent.
imagined how much our cats would love it. We don't have predators on this island, so the cats can be safe outside. We
Oh, that's
we
great.
we built a big fence, a no-climb fence, and we started imagining how much the cats would love climbing all the trees, and they were in heaven. Took them a while to work up the courage to go outside. They'd been indoor. We moved here with 10 cats, actually 11 cats, and they'd been indoors, strictly indoors when we lived in California. So this was a big surprise.
So when you actually made the change, like when you were actually physically making this change from California living to this 8-acre property, were you nervous? Did you have like a plan of how this would actually happen? How you would build a nonprofit?
Not at the time. My husband would never have gone along with starting an official sanctuary where people come and visit. He was a introvert. So
Okay.
what I thought I would have to settle for is just having a few of my own personal animals. But after about 8 years passed, he decided to move back to California. It became all too much building fences and barns. So when he moved back to California, that's when I started the nonprofit and um, became an official sanctuary.
Okay. So tell me about that. Tell me about what you're doing there because I know you have a lot of dimension. There's a lot of education going on. There's a lot of programs you have. I know you're doing, or at least I see weddings. So talk to me about the business. Like what is happening at the sanctuary?
Well, we have several different programs. We have volunteer days where people who visit on vacation can come at 9 o'clock in the morning, 3 days a week, and they can choose from a large variety of different projects. Everything from gardening to raking out barns to brushing the goats and grooming the cats, picking fruit and feeding the animals. There are so many different ways that people can contribute. We also have a volunteer program where people who can commit to coming one morning a week can help with the rounds. So they come first thing in the morning and they do all the water bowls, they feed everybody, they collect the manure, which is used as compost. It turns into compost and then nourishes the plants. And then we have farm tours for people who live here or who are on vacation. And that happens 3 times a week. We take them around the entire farm. It's very hands-on and interactive. They meet all the animals, they brush them and feed them and learn their stories. And we provide them with educational literature. And it's a wonderful experience. People love it. They come back year after year on vacation.
I was going to say, do you are a lot of the people who are participating in those activities tourists coming on vacation?
Majority of the people who come on the tours are vacationers, at
And
least
how,
90%.
okay. And how are they finding out about you?
Well, I am a very enthusiastic amateur photographer. So every evening I go around the farm with my camera and photograph the animals. And the scenery is so stunningly beautiful that it's not difficult to get gorgeous backgrounds with the animals in the foreground. So I do a lot of posting on social media, and our social media accounts have grown, and the word's getting out that way. And sometimes I post pictures on the Maui visitor Facebook groups. And people find us on TripAdvisor. They Google the 10 best things to do on Maui. They find us on Airbnb. We put our flyers around the island.
Excellent.
Word of mouth.
Now, can people stay on the property, or is it more just visiting the property?
More just, there's really no place for lodging, more just visiting the property.
Okay.
We also have special programs for at-risk youth and special needs kids, all different youth groups come here, and they get tours, they get humane education, they get to volunteer. We do a lot of that.
How did that get started? Was there a need? Did someone approach you, or did you recognize a need in the community?
I think many, many years ago, we were contacted by Maui Social Services and the Family Youth Protective Services, school field trips. The schools contact us. Many different organizations.
And how do you think the animals have an impact on those kids?
Well, the kids who have had rough backgrounds and rough home lives, or may have been abused or neglected, they learn the stories of the animals, and they learn that the animals have also been through rough times, but have come through it and have learned to trust humans again. So they see that example, and a lot of times kids can connect with an animal better than they can with other kids or with adults. So they bond with the animals, and it can make a huge difference. It's an unforgettable experience.
Yeah, I'm sure you watching that happen is pretty powerful.
It's so gratifying to see these kids really benefit from their visits.
Excellent. Do you have kids that come often, or become volunteers through those programs?
We do. And we also work with the court. Sometimes people who are assigned community service by the court, maybe for a speeding ticket or some other infraction, adults, they're assigned community service, so they come here and they love the place so much. A lot of times they end up being volunteers.
Yep.
And or we might hire them for jobs. So it's been do you hear the donkey?
Yeah, I just heard. I was like, what was that? I see your little, is that a kitty cat in the back over there?
Yeah, the kitty on the chair, that's Bobby. He's very popular on Facebook.
I think I've seen Bobby on Facebook.
Yeah, I can't resist photographing him constantly. He's so cute.
Yeah. So on Maui in particular, from an animal perspective, like what are the challenges around rescue, or like what are the needs that you're helping to fill on Maui, and maybe it's some of the other islands as well?
Well, cockfighting is illegal, but it's only classified as a misdemeanor. And a lot of times, roosters end up badly injured in cockfights. In cockfights, the rooster has a razor blade strapped to the ankle, and they can end up very, very badly injured. So we have roosters who were liberated from cockfighting operations. We also have a lot of animals who are orphaned by hunters. We have deer whose mothers were shot and killed. We have goats. Almost every single goat here was orphaned as a baby. When they arrive here, they're tiny, barely the size of a cat, and they have to be bottle fed, and they form very strong bonds. So the goats are now adults, but they still think of me as their mother because I'm the only mother they've ever known. And I have one goat named Kelly Ray, who still loves to hug me every day. She's going to be 12 years old. She's going on maybe 13. But every day she'll stand up on her two hind legs and reach up her two front arms and put them around my neck and hug me. That's
so
heaven.
I can imagine. What is like, what's your, I don't know if it's a morning routine, but I mean, you wake up on this beautiful island, and what is the routine like? Like, what do you experience on a daily basis?
Oh,
Make us all jealous.
well, I live in
I know it's a lot of work, though.
It is a lot of work, but it's all very healthy work. It keeps me in shape. I love the physical aspect. And I live in a little cottage. It's only 633 square feet, but it's maxed out with windows. So I can look out my windows and see animals on all sides of the farm. And it's 2 stories. So in the morning, I wake up and I can look out my windows and see happy animals in every direction. They're everywhere. And I can hear their voices. I wake up early and I can hear the roosters crowing. It's just a beautiful way to start the day. And I go downstairs to make myself a cup of coffee, and while my coffee's brewing, I look out at the duck pond, and the ducks and the geese and the swan are frolicking. There's a waterfall that goes into the pond, and they like to swim under the waterfall. So that's how the day gets started. I cannot complain. And most mornings I do have volunteers to do the rounds, but not every morning. So some mornings I go out there early and hose off all the concrete. We have a lot of ducks. So in the morning, the concrete pathway up to my cottage is definitely in need of hosing. Everybody gets fresh water and they get fed. And we also receive produce donations from the down to earth natural food store.
Nice.
So when those arrive, I sort all the produce. We get carrots and celery and plums and watermelon, avocados, bananas, apples, you name it, everything. And different fruits and different vegetables go to different animals. So I go around and serve all the animals their breakfast. We have a lot of guinea pigs who came to us from the Humane Society. When the Humane Society runs out of cage space, they contact us. And we have dozens upon dozens of guinea pigs. And to make sure that there's no breeding and to help the animals avoid having to undergo sterilization surgery, we just take the males. So we have all male guinea pigs. They're very compatible. And they get to free range all over the farm. There are no predators. We don't have birds of prey. We don't have foxes, coyotes, raccoons.
I never knew that, actually. That's so
Those are all
interesting.
safe. And the cats are nice to the guinea pigs. In fact, they sometimes cuddle in their little houses with them. It's the
How did that
cutest thing.
happen?
Yeah, they're compatible.
Wow, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that the guinea pigs don't fight with each other, although I guess because we had some guinea pig challenges. We rescued 3, and they were 3 brothers, and they were fine when they were young, and then all havoc broke loose. But I guess it's also when it was a big cage. I mean, of course, I got something huge, but I guess because they're caged, maybe,
Maybe it's because they have so much space here, they can go everywhere. Of course,
yeah.
the entire perimeter is fenced, so that loose dogs would never be a threat.
Hmm, interesting. So so if, I guess, how are you funded? So you obviously have these activities that are going on. I presume you're bringing in money through these activities and tours and education.
Well, the field trips, we normally don't receive any donation for the special needs kids who come for the field trips. That's a service that we're very, very happy to provide. We do receive donations for the farm tours, but the number one way we receive funding is when people decide to sponsor an animal
Okay.
or if they are enrolled to make a monthly donation. Those
Okay.
sustaining supporters really keep us going.
Okay. So that's been now, what about, do you get any other grants or anything for what you're doing, or is it mostly just that type of funding?
We haven't received many grants in the past. However, just recently, the county of Maui approved a grant, a $15,000 grant, in which we can hire an advertising and public relations firm to reach out to travel influencers
Okay,
to,
excellent.
to make more travel journalists aware of the sanctuary. It's amazing how many people don't know we exist, even on this island. We try so hard to publicize it, but we still need a lot more publicity.
And do you have places like, so if someone does want to visit, are you, I'm not clear on where you are on the island, Haiku, I believe. I'm not sure where that is, but
Yes.
are you close to other like places to stay, other B&Bs or anything where people can
There,
kind of plan a trip around it?
there are B&Bs all over the island, including right next door. The main resort area is on a different part of the island. It's about a 40-minute drive from the resort areas, but we're right off of the Hana Highway, so it's a very easy drive and a spectacularly gorgeous drive.
So it's a great opportunity for people then, they can definitely build a trip around that stay. So that's terrific that they're giving you funding for that, because I think that could really, based on all my conversations with people globally from an agritourism perspective, one of the most powerful ways is their direct relationships with travel agencies and tourism bureaus and even like, state related, travel promotional organizations. That's where they seem to get the most value and the most marketing. We can do the social media and we can do all that, but you only reach as much as what the companies are going to allow you to reach these days, no matter what you do.
Exactly.
Um, and no matter how beautiful the pictures are, unfortunately, but I think this is a great opportunity for you, going forward. So is that something that you have access to now, that you just got access to now?
Yes, we're in the process. We just hired an advertising firm, so we're moving forward. We're creating a special newsletter, which will include not just information about Leilani Farm Sanctuary, but information about cool things to do on the island. So it'll get
Excellent.
people to come to visit Maui.
Excellent. That's exciting. That's exciting. So, there are a lot of people who probably come visit and probably, are like, oh my God, I want to do this. I'd love to, create a sanctuary for animals. What would you tell them realistically? Like what's some of the advice you would give them in what they need to think through, you know, the life, I mean, I know that obviously you're on a beautiful island and, you know, there's so many positives, but there are things people need to think through when they're taking on this challenge. I know when in speaking with Emma and John, they did a really good job in in volunteering and actually working it before they made a transition and really understanding the lifestyle and the lifestyle change that was going to happen for them. So what would you tell people?
The advice I would give anybody considering starting a sanctuary is number one, it's going to be so much easier if you can be located in a tourist destination. If you're out in the middle of a rural area, hours from the nearest airport, it's going to be really hard to get enough visitors to sustain yourself. So that's number one. Number two, realize that you're going to be working with people, not just animals. So you've got, if you don't have good people skills, it's going to be challenging because you're managing people. And a lot of people don't consider that aspect.
That's
But
really
it's
important. Yep.
that's very important. It's the biggest challenge, and doing it right will make all the difference. So if you don't have a natural knack for it, it may be difficult. You don't have to love people or want to be around people. You just have to have the finesse to be able to manage them well and handle people in a compassionate way when giving people direction, always preserving their dignity, making sure that they get complimented 10 times more often than they get corrected. Little things like that are just a major part of running a sanctuary. Number three, not necessarily in this order, it's really easy for a sanctuary to get overwhelmed with too many animals because every single day your phone's ringing with cases of animals who are in desperate need of a place to go.
Yeah.
And if you take every animal that needs to be rescued, pretty soon you are not enjoying this. It's overwhelmed. You're in an overwhelmed crisis because you can't provide proper care for that many animals. Everybody needs veterinary care. Everybody needs to be groomed. Everybody needs to be socialized. And there are only so many hours in a day.
Right.
So just be really careful that you decide in the very beginning what your limit is of every species of animal. And then number four, just recognize that you're going to have animals dying. When you have that many animals, it's going to happen. And that's the difficult part of it. But the great part of it is you can wake up every morning knowing that you've set up this place where animals are thriving and you're setting an example for other people of humane care for animals, educating visitors. It's just a wonderful feeling knowing that your lifestyle is so helpful to others, human and animal.
Excellent. And so what do you see as the things that you want to, I guess, expand or change or add with what you're doing right now? Like what's your focus for the next few years as far as the sanctuary goes?
Well, we're now in the refinement mode. We started out in the growth mode. Now we're maxed out. So we're making everything better. It's been 16 years since the sanctuary was founded. And the barns,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. And the barns are all now needing maintenance and repair. The fences need repair. So there's a lot to do. We have a lot of fencing, a lot of barns. We have gardens. We grow a lot of food for the animals, bananas, mangoes, avocados. We also have ornamental gardens. We want this to be a beautiful place so that when people visit, they associate farm animals with beauty. Most people think of a place with farm animals as being dry and dusty and very utilitarian. But
Yep.
as an artist, I love to design gardens, and that's what we've done. There are flowers everywhere. It's very colorful and tropical.
Excellent.
And we're also working toward buying back this property. As I mentioned, my husband and I bought this property together when we moved here 25 years ago. But when he moved back to California, he needed his equity in the
Right.
property. So I was forced to have to sell the property
Mm.
in order to pay my husband his equity. So I have a lifetime lease here on half of this property, but the sanctuary really needs to purchase it so that
Okay.
when I die, the sanctuary will continue in perpetuity.
Okay. And do you have volunteers that, you know, that that are leading like you and have that same passion as you have?
Well, we're always looking at who will be the successor. We have workers who manage various aspects of the farm, but we haven't identified a main director at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure you have many years of
Well,
to
I
figure
stay
that
pretty
out.
healthy with all the exercise I get around
I'm
here
sure, and
in
I'm
my
sure the way
vegan
you,
diet.
yes, trust me, I am too. So, in agreement with that. Excellent. So, and I asked this to Emma and John, and at first they were like, I can't, I don't know how to answer that, but then they both did. I know that all the animals are special to you. I'm sure they all have a special place in your heart, but are there any or a few over the years that have stood out to you, that you just want to tell me their story?
Oh boy, there's so many. Um, we have a pig named Bernie. He's the pig of my heart. He was living outside of the sanctuary in the wild, and he'd come up to the fence every evening. He was very shy. He was a young pig. He wasn't an adult. He was a teenager. And he would come up to the fence and commune with all the animals. And he'd follow the donkey along the fence line, and he would communicate in pig language with the other pig. And he obviously wanted to be part of the family here. And I started worrying about him being shot because hunting wild pigs is very, very rampant here.
Oh,
So
I
we
didn't know that.
rescued
Okay.
Bernie before anybody killed him. And it's now been about 13 years. And he's been a great ambassador to the sanctuary because he demonstrates to people that these wild pigs are not mean and vicious. He's shy and sweet and a total sweetie pie and as gentle as a lamb. And they're highly intelligent animals. They have cognitive abilities equal to a 3-year-old human. So
Yeah.
Bernie is very special.
Any others that you want to share?
Um, well, I'm pretty crazy about Bobby, who you see right here in the chair. Bobby was a tiny kitten. He was just over 4 weeks old when one of our supporters heard him crying under the crawl space of her
He
house.
just looked up a little.
Oh, Bobby, you hear mommy talking about
His
you.
head went up.
Yes.
It's- That's cute.
So she rescued him and brought him here, and he was just old enough to eat um cat food, canned cat food. So he didn't need to be bottle fed, but I had him with me constantly, and he was so darn cute that I just took millions of photographs of him. And he likes to come up onto my bed every morning as I'm having the coffee. He loves the fuzzy blanket. So he'll sit on top of my lap on the blanket and knead with his little paws and purr. So I'm pretty cuckoo about that cat.
Excellent. You know, it's funny with cats. I was always a dog person. I don't know if you hear my dog barking upstairs. And when I was young, there was a neighbor's cat who I used to pick up and all this. And one day the cat scratched my face, and ever since then, I was a kid, I was always like afraid, just I was cautious of cats. And so, I haven't had a cat as a pet. So there were two stray cats outside a few years ago, and they weren't getting along. And my mom was over one day and she's like, "Oh, it's winter, feed them." And I'm like, "No, we can't do that because then they'll keep coming." And so she fed them one day and that was the end. So,
Plus her
but they,
heart.
yes, no, I wanted to, but I was afraid because I'm like, oh, once you start, then they'll become dependent, and then, should they be independent? I don't know. They were both fixed already though because their ears were tipped. So the one cat, they would fight. So I'm like, okay, I let one of them into like the basement window to eat because and then I would feed the other one outside to keep them separate so that I knew they were both eating. Well, the one that would come in just to eat started coming in more often. And now she owns my whole house.
Oh, I love
And
it.
the funny thing is, it's been a few years. And at first, she never would let me pet her. And then slowly, she would come up to me and push on me and purr, and I would pet her. And then now my whole family can pet her. She's still not completely comfortable, but sometimes when I'm sitting on the couch, she'll just come and sit next to me and just want to be pet. But then she'll leave when she wants to leave. It's not like cuddle, but it's just like it's taken her so long to trust, but it's just the transformation is amazing. And then the other cat outside is like my buddy. When I'm gardening, she comes over and gardens with me, and we feed her as well. And we have a heated house out there in the winter, the whole thing.
Oh,
Everyone
that's
thinks I'm crazy,
wonderful.
but everyone always tells me the cats kind of find you, like you you don't have a choice in the matter.
Yes,
And it's true. They totally connected. And I'm like, okay, I guess I've become a cat person.
I love it. I'm glad she went to the right place.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they both did. So, but they're special. I just like I said, I'm getting to know, and all my friends are cat people. So I'm always asking for advice, and they're like, "Oh, you're a cat person, so don't worry about it anymore." I'm like, "Okay."
Not a bad thing to be.
No, no, I mean, I love all animals, but they're amazing. But so any other advice or any statement you want to make about um, you know, educating people about animals and treatment of animals?
Yes, not everybody's in a position to start a sanctuary. Not everybody's in a position to rescue animals, but we're all in a position 3 times a day to decide what we want to eat. And it's very simple to save the life of someone by choosing not to eat him or her. So I would really recommend that to help animals, um, to really consider our food choices. And
Yep.
most people don't change their eating habits overnight. So transitioning toward a plant-based diet will not only save the animals, but it's so much better for the environment. And it's really a formula for optimal health.
Correct. And I think the one very important message that you just said is it is a transition all the time. It doesn't have to be a I'm stopping today, everything, because I think that's an overwhelming proposition for many people. But start with one thing, start with one thing. And you will find that you do feel much better on many levels, not just health wise, but, you know, ethically, morally, everything goes along with it. And it's very powerful. But it is a transition for many people. It's not an overnight thing. So
Every little bit helps.
exactly. Exactly. Well, Laurelee, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I love the view. What are we looking at in the background over there?
Oh, you're looking at a big monkey pod tree, and then behind the monkey pod tree is the garden, and down in the garden are ducks and cats, chickens, and guinea pigs just running around having a great time.
Before I let you go, Finding Paradise, when did you write that book?
I think we're coming up on the 4-year anniversary. I think it was released 4 years ago.
Okay. And you just want to tell us quickly what the book is about?
Yes, the book is it's my life story, and a lot of it is about my adventure from going to corporate America to life on the farm and starting a sanctuary
Excellent.
with a
Excellent.
lot of funny stuff in there.
Okay. Oh, well, I look forward to reading it and I will reach out after I've read it. One other quick thing, I know on your website it does talk about weddings and vow renewals. So is this something that you've been doing or you're starting to do?
Yes, over the years we've hosted couples for simple ceremonies, and with the place looking nicer and nicer, and with us wanting to um, provide more humane education and as a source of revenue, we're starting to really um, publicize our ability to let people come here and have weddings. Not huge weddings. We're not really set up for that, but we have many locations on the farm that are really picturesque, and the couples can choose wherever they want to have the wedding. We have a duck pond, we have beautiful tropical gardens, we've got ocean views. So it's a great setting. And we also have a screened in pavilion with a dining table. So they can have a few friends and have some appetizers and champagne, or they can cater a dinner. So many different possibilities.
What a beautiful way to start a life and then know that you're also giving back to this amazing cause. So on such a beautiful island. So
Yes, thank you.
definitely something to consider for people. Um, Absolutely amazing. So um, that's awesome. So thank you so
And
much.
thank you for mentioning the weddings. I had forgotten to mention it.
Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, like I said, I think it's a great opportunity to there's so many benefits to, it bringing awareness and like I said, if someone is looking for like what a unique way to celebrate, you know, to celebrate a wedding. And like I said, give back in it's such an amazing way. So great
Thank you.
opportunity. And I look forward to visiting one day when I get
Oh,
back to
that will be
Hawaii.
great. We would love to
I
have you come. I hope you
I
can.
Hawaii was I have not been there in 26 years, but I fell in love. I mean, we were at a bunch of the different islands, and every island was unique and charming in very different ways. And what an amazing paradise. So,
I feel very fortunate. There's no place I'd rather live. I
Excellent.
don't travel. I never go anywhere, which is fine with me.
Excellent.
But we
All
invite
right.
you to travel and come on over.
Yes, yeah, we'll get this out there because I think, you have it's beautiful what you're doing. So thank you for everything you're doing. It takes someone, it's not easy. There's a lot of amazing benefits to it, but it's hard. It's challenging on many levels. So, thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you.
All right, take care. You have a great day.
Okay, bye for now.
I hope our AgriTourist podcast prompts you to think more about where your food comes from, whether it be your vegetables, fruits, meats, and even those sweet treats. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with someone you think may truly benefit from or be inspired by it. Visit us at agra-tourist.com. Until next time. As we are learning from many of our farmers and entrepreneurs, strong connections help propel our visions. Through my interview with Lisa Chase from the University of Vermont Extension and Vermont Tourism Research Center, I was connected to an exciting and new organization called the Global Agritourism Network, or GAN for short. The Global Network is made up of agritourism stakeholders from around the world. They include farmers and ranchers, researchers, educators, community planners, policymakers, agricultural service providers, and tour operators, among others. It is currently free to join, so if you have any interest in agritourism, check them out at agritourism.eurac.edu/GAN, or just Google Global Agritourism Network. The link will be in our show notes as well. You never know, this global network may help you take your agritourism vision to the next level.